I'm here to talk to you today about steer tire blowouts and how to deal with them, how to handle them. Nothing to necessarily be scared of as long as you're doing the right thing in the right way.
Breaker, this is the TrucknTankerYanker. I'm 10-8 with my 10 in the wind. My heaters are glowing, my manners are showing. Wind her up, let her go, come on. I'm your travel agent with a story to tell. Let's go for a ride.
Hey, it's your TrucknTankerYanker. I'm here to talk to you today about steer tire blowouts and how to deal with them, how to handle them. Nothing to necessarily be scared of as long as you're doing the right thing in the right way. Now, a lot of people have wondered why I squint a lot. And that's because I wear glasses, obviously. And it's not because I can't see you that I'm squinting. It's mostly because I live in a part of the country where the sun is out a lot. And normally during the day, this is what I look like. That's what I look like all day long. Inside, outside, if I go into a store, if I go into a customer's warehouse, if I go anywhere, I wear these. And that's because my eyes are light sensitive. And so, but I don't want to be too cool for school. So I put on my regular glasses and I just squint. Now I suppose I could try not to squint, but my eyes would probably start watering and they'd turn red and it'd look funny. But I just thought I'd let you know the reason why I squint a lot. It's not because I'm trying to seem sincere. It's just because I can't hardly see. So that's all. But I want you to be able to see a little bit of my eyes so you can know that I'm sincere. All right. So anyway, talk a little bit about steer tire blowouts. Now, when it comes to driving down the road and your steer tire blows out, it's going to pull you to the side that your steer tire blew out on. Now, I know of a couple situations. I didn't see them happen. I'm glad I didn't see them happen. It'd be terrible. But it happened to be near where I lived. And so I saw the aftermath. The interstate was closed, all that kind of thing. There was a guy, it was a 6-lane interstate divided, so 3 on each side. There was a guy going one direction in the slow lane with, I think he had an older truck. I think it was even like a hoopy, like a 10-wheeler, just a flatbed truck, not with a trailer. And he was headed one direction, and his left-hand steer tire blew out. And I can almost guarantee this is what he did, which was the wrong thing to do. When his steer tire blew out, he jammed on his brakes. And when he jammed on his brakes, his truck veered across the 3 lanes on his side of the interstate, went through the median, jumped up on the other side of the interstate, and went across the several lines on the other side of the interstate, and he hit an England truck head on in the slow lane on the other side. Both the drivers of the England truck and the 10-wheeler were both killed. The only person that lived through that wreck was a 12-year-old girl that was in the sleeper of the England truck. Now, that was a situation that happened because a guy did the wrong thing when his steer tire blew out. Oddly enough, call it fate, karma, luck, bad luck, I don't know what you want to call it, but it was like a month later, nearly the exact same thing happened in nearly the exact same spot. Truck going one direction, had a steer tire blow out when he was in the slow lane. He went across the interstate, across the median, and he hit somebody on the other side. Both of those accidents could have been avoided if the driver of the truck with the steer tire that blew out had done the right thing. Now, here's the right thing to do. It doesn't matter if you got power steering. Now, obviously, or maybe not so obviously for some people, but if you have a truck or a car or a pickup or an older truck that does not have power steering, it's even going to be worse. And if you don't have power steering and you got a hold of your steering wheel with both hands and you don't have power steering and you have a steer tire blow out and you hit the brakes really hard, even with both hands on the wheel and no power steering, it's going to jerk you to one side. So this is what you do in this kind of a situation, even with power steering. Now, hey, you know how a lot of us drive here, where we got one thumb on the steering wheel like that. You have a steer tire blowout with power steering and one thumb on the steering wheel, it's going to jerk the wheel right out of your hands, especially when you hit the brakes. This is what you do when a steer tire blows out, whether you have power steering or whether you have Armstrong steering. And that is, steer tire blows out, make sure you got a good grip on your wheel. So if you're even kind of being casual and you just got the one hand on the wheel, elbow on the windowsill, and the steer tire blows out, first thing you should do is grab that wheel with your other hand like that. But now you can do one of two things. Either you maintain the speed that you got right at this moment, or you mash your motor. In other words, increase your throttle, push down on the gas pedal, push down on the diesel pedal, increase your power. Now here's what happens. You're going down the road like this. All your kinetic energy is going straight ahead of you like that. Suddenly, you have a steer tire blowout, and your kinetic energy starts going to the side like that. It goes that way. And so, but it decreases your forward kinetic energy and increases your side kinetic energy. That's why it jerks your wheel off to that side over there. What happens when you hit the brakes is you almost stop your forward kinetic energy, and now you suddenly have that much more kinetic energy going to that side. Now, if your steer tire blew out on the right-hand side, it'd be the whole situation, except for you be heading out the borrow pit and across somebody's cow pasture or through somebody's city block or something along those lines. So the thing to do in that particular situation, I used to have a really good video that I used to show my drivers, and I made sure I showed it at least twice a year to my drivers. And in this video, they actually had a little piece of deck cord, and they had a proving ground, big wide open spot where you couldn't hit nothing. And they put the deck cord on a steer tire, and they had the guy going down the road about 50 miles an hour, and then they had a camera pointing right at the tire, so you could see the catastrophic failure when the deck cord went off. Boom, like that tire hit the ground, and you can see the driver like this, and the truck slew off to one direction or the other. And they really showed that, how that energy. But then they went through a lot of tires in that video, I guarantee you. Then they showed how a guy was able to maintain better control when he mashed his motor, sped up, that's another way to put it, mashed his motor to increase his forward kinetic energy. So you remember what I said? You're going straight ahead, and all of a sudden your tire blows and it starts going out to the side like that. You hit the brakes, slows your forward down and increases your side. So the thing to do then is you got your forward momentum like that, boom, tire blows like that. You keep your motor mashed to keep the kinetic energy going straight ahead of you. That's how you deal with a situation like that. And then once, it's either one or two things. Either mash your motor or maintain your speed. Maintaining your speed is just as good. And when you got control, and you know you got control, then you can let off your throttle, and then you can slowly brake. Don't stab the brakes, just slowly brake. Or you can coast to the side, because the flat tire is going to slow you down anyway, but you've got control of the situation. I know far too many people that when something happens in front of them, their first reaction is to stab the brakes. And they're very proud of their reaction to be able to stab the brakes that fast. I mean, they're faster than anybody else when it comes to stabbing brakes. They'll be like, and then they just got on the brakes, and next thing you know, I know of one person, I'm not going to name her, but she, I think 4 accidents in like a year because of her quick reactions. And one of them was a fairly serious accident where she had antifreeze spraying in her face and everything else. But that was because her first reaction was to just hit the brakes hard, and whatever the initial catalyst was, a dog, a cat, a deer, something like that, whatever the initial catalyst was less problematic than the aftermath because she hit the brakes hard. And it's like that in a lot of situations. I can tell a story later about an accident that happened where I never hit the brakes during the entire process of when the accident was happening. Now, it wasn't my fault, but I was in a catch-22 that there was not a thing in the world I could do. But I could tell the story right now. There wasn't a thing in the world I could do about it. I was in Wyoming on icy road. I was doing about 50 miles an hour. I was pulling a gas train. I was empty. And a fella from California lost control of his car coming straight at me. And I had a mountain on one side. I mean, right at the shoulder of the road, there was a mountain that went straight up. And I had the Snake River on the left side of me. And there was a guardrail there to keep you from going in the creek. But that was it. And in a 2-lane road. So single lane going both directions. This guy lost control and was headed straight at me, head on. My choice is hit the guy head on, jerk my wheel to the left, and hit the 5 cars behind him head on. If I'd hit the mountain, I still would hit the guy coming at me. And what I ended up doing, because I'm pulling 2 trailers, and this is something for you drivers, because if you're involved in a situation involving, well, even 1 trailer, but 2 trailers especially, and you jerk to the left and you jerk to the right, and then you hit your brakes, guarantee you, your trailers are going to pass you. And in that particular situation that I was in, my only choice was to try to jerk left and jerk right. That was my only choice, to try to mitigate the damage that was going to happen. And of course, those things happen that fast. It's just too fast to even imagine. And all that passed through my mind in a heartbeat. And what ended up happening was I moved to the left a little bit. The guy hit my right front fender. I was driving a Kenworth. He hit my right front fender, a glancing blow. My first trailer had 3 axles, and I felt him ka-chunk hit my first axle on my front trailer. And the minute I felt him go ka-chunk like that, I jerked to the wheel to the right, and I just mashed my motor, put the throttle right to the metal, and just kept her under power the whole way. When I came to a stop, my train was pointing in a straight line. So the guy that initially caused the wreck hit me on my right side on the front axle. The guy that was directly behind him was driving a 10-wheeler. He hit the back axle on my lead trailer on the left side. Tore the whole front end of his truck off, but he wasn't injured, fortunately. But nobody else was involved in that accident. When the highway patrol showed up and the county police in that area showed up, and after they'd interviewed everybody, and they actually slapped me on the back and congratulated me and said that there could have been serious injuries and even loss of life if I had not driven the way that I did, because most of the time that they'd ever seen truckers involved in an accident, their trailers are all kinked up, pointing different directions, maybe past the truck's jackknifed, all those kind of things, because people's first reaction is just to hit the brakes. I never even touched the brakes in this situation. When I jerk left, the guy hit me on the right. I jerk right, a guy hit me on the left. I mashed my motor and I headed straight for a snowbank that was 5 feet deep. And I hit that snowbank that was 5 feet deep, and I'll guarantee you the ride got rough then. I had stuff flying everywhere inside my truck. Anyway, so in that situation, hitting the brakes would have been the wrong thing to do. More people would have been injured. We couldn't even speculate how bad that accident would have been. Fortunately, everybody survived their injuries. There weren't any super serious injuries or anything like that. I wasn't injured. I had some arthritis issues because I got arthritis anyway, and just from tensing up and stuff like that, it caused some of my inflammatory issues to go off. But that's one of the things you got to pay attention. And when I had my own drivers, hitting the brakes is oft times, it was like this. I put deer bumpers back in the 90s on my trucks. I got them from a guy that was from Australia, and he was building these big bumpers. They were alley arc bumpers at that time, and they were building them on trucks down in Australia. And then they moved to Canada. When I saw the first one in the early 90s, and when I was driving around North Country, I was like, boy, I got to get one of those. And so I started putting those on my trucks. And because we were hitting deer in Montana and Wyoming, there's a lot of deer running around, and with team trucks driving at night, round the clock, that type of thing, deer's going to run out in front of you. And I schooled my drivers and told them, I'd much rather have you hit a deer and take out a $5,000 hood and even the air-to-air and stuff like that. I'd rather have you take all of that out than to jerk your wheel, hit the brakes, and roll the whole truck and both trailers. I'd much rather have you just take out the hood. And I paid for a few hoods, and that's the reason why a $1,500 bumper was cheap, in my opinion. I put a $1,500 bumper on those trucks. Some of them guys started putting little pictures of deer. Well, actually, I was at one of our company picnics that we had. A guy had put a little picture of Bambi for every deer that bumper had taken out. And he put a picture of Bambi on the side of it, just like a fighter pilot. And anyway, and we had bumpers that hit numerous deer, but it sure saved the front end of them trucks. And it wasn't so much that, it was $500 was my deductible, but it's the downtime is really what gets you, is the downtime on a truck. And we don't keep a lot of spare trucks laying around because those things cost money too. But hitting the brakes is not necessarily the best thing to do in every situation. But, with a little bit of experience, you haven't seen how things work, you school yourself, think about it, and so that when you get to a situation that you've already schooled yourself to the point you're not going to overreact. That's the thing. And so the same thing with the steer tire blowout. Don't hit the brakes first thing. If you feel like you got to slow down instantly, let your foot off the throttle. Make sure you have control before you start smoothly braking. It's all about being smooth. All right. Now, hey, I got one thing left here. I posted the video about asking questions and making comments, and we hadn't heard from you. Well, somebody actually asked a question, and so I just want to respond to Mostly Blonde in Chessboard, North Dakota. She asked a question, and it was just a one-word question, and it was awkward. Awkward? It was awkward anyway. That was what the word was. That's the question. And yes, making these videos is kind of awkward. Talking to a camera, like right now I'm just sitting in a vacant lot. I pulled over to make a video, and yeah, it is awkward. I feel awkward just talking to, and it's a lot easier talking to a person than it is talking. And actually, what the most awkward part is that I can see myself while I'm saying this, and that's really awkward. You might have noticed, like right now I'm looking directly at you. Well, and you've seen my earlier videos, I'm looking like this. That's because I didn't even know where the camera was on this, on the face view side of this. I didn't know where the camera was. And so I was looking at myself in the picture here, when actually the little camera part is like, I can't even see it here. It's just a little bitty dot there. And that's where the camera actually is. So if you notice that all my earlier videos has me looking here, which is actually where looking at me, which is awkward. That is awkward. Yeah. Mostly Blonde in Chessboard, North Dakota. It is awkward. I have to agree with you. It feels awkward. So I just wanted to, and also I wanted to answer Magnum's question. Magnum S. He said something about you cut your hair, or do you cut your hair, or I don't remember exactly what the question was, but it was something about my hair. And yes, I do cut my hair, and it's my own hair. And actually, when I do it with my glasses off, so I can't even see very good when I'm cutting my hair, because otherwise hair gets all over my glasses when I'm cutting it. And so that's how I get the random look, is doing it without glasses. And randomizing it a little bit makes it look natural. It makes it look a lot more natural that way. And so yes, thank you for your question about my hair, and Magnum S, and I appreciate that. And Mostly Blonde, appreciate your question. And if y'all have any questions, or anybody else that got questions for me, just go ahead and whip them out there, and I'll do the best I can to answer them. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please go ahead and subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. Yep, that's right. Ring the bell if you haven't done that yet. Hey, it's just like blinking your lights. You know, it's just a polite thing to do. So remember, take it easy. Keep the shiny side up and the dirty side down. Hey, look further than your hood ornament, and don't be a bumper sticker. It's unprofessional. That's right. Now, I just wanted you to know that I'm the Truck and Tanker Yanker, and I'll see you on the flip side. We gone.